I remember the operator asking me a question like, where do you stay at? I told him, hey, help, send the police. My uncle is trying to kill my mom. So they started asking me further questions. Where do you stay at? What's your mom's name? What's your name? And I answered all the questions. By the time I ran back and I got home, the police was already at my house. And they were walking my mom out of handcuffs. And I remember asking the police, like, hold on, it's my uncle. Why don't y'all have him? He wouldn't give me an answer. But that would be the last time I see my mom for a long time. My name is Travis Hales. I grew up in Portsmouth, Virginia, and I currently reside in Portsmouth, Virginia. My early childhood years started off fun to me. I was born to Mary Ann Hales. Never knew my dad, but come from a big family. My grandma had 14 kids, so I had a lot of aunts and uncles that used to do cool stuff like give me money when I was young. When I was 5, my mom had my younger sibling, my sister, Michelle. The first school I went to was Tom and Tippy. It was actually a preschool, and it was right next to the church that I grew up in called Holy Trinity in Portsmouth, Virginia. When my sister was born, I just remember being happy. I had a friend now, an in-home friend, I would say. Although we had different dads, her dad treated me like a son as well. So I got the best of both worlds. I got a little sister as well as kind of a dad for a while. I remember the first sports that I played. My mom took me to a recreational center called Mount Herman in Portsmouth, Virginia. It was my first time ever getting a taste of organized sports. Before then, we would play, hot ball in the projects that I grew up in. Jeffrey Wilson, or we would play basketball as well, but never an organized sport with a coach or instructor. So that translated into high school sports, and which eventually translated to college. So sports from my childhood has definitely carried over and impacted me in my life today, because the lessons that I learned from sports, responsibility, dedication, determination, that all carries over to everyday real life. The particular street I remember the most about Portsmouth is my address in Jeffrey Wilson. I actually remember the address to this day, 245 Project Drive. As a kid, I didn't really understand what a project was, but as I got older and was able to read and research myself, I thought it was just kind of ironic how I lived on the street called Project when we lived in the projects. And growing up in the projects, as anyone can expect, it wasn't easy. And on the outside looking in, people would think that you're poor, but when you're actually in there, everyone's around you is the same. So I didn't even know I was poor growing up. I had everything I needed. My mom made sure that I had food in my stomach. But it can be a tough place, especially for the older sibling who doesn't have brothers and sisters to go to. You kind of got to learn to stand on your own. And other kids pick up on that early too, I think. I think in the projects, weakness is sniffed out real fast. And if you show any sign of weakness, people are going to exploit that and take advantage of you. So even if you aren't like a tough person or you're a soft person, really, you learn how to become hard or put on a hard exterior to sort of protect yourself. But I vividly remember, being raised by a single mom, not knowing how to fight. and being scared to fight. So, and I had a big mouth. I ain't gonna lie. When I was younger, I had a big mouth. So I talked a lot of junk. So I would get chased home and beat up a lot after school. And it took my mom actually putting me in boxing classes for me to gain the courage or the energy or the will to want to fight. But before then, it was a long process because I really remember my mom got tired of me running home every day. So one day she was like, you know what? Before you go to school the next day, put pennies in your sock. And if they come over and try to mess with you, take the sock out your pocket and start swinging. I'm a 6-year-old, 7-year-old kid, so it sounded like a good idea to me. So I did that, put pennies in my sock, went to school the next day, and I was talking extra trash on the bus as well. Got off the bus, they chased me. I stopped mid-chase, took out the pennies, and I closed my eyes and swung, and it wrapped around my arm, boom, hit me in the head. Next thing you know, I'm getting stumped out, feeling the bottom of the boot. So I go home, cried to my mom, like, man, that idea you gave me was messed up, it didn't work. So she gave me another idea, like put some sand in your pocket. And when they try to mess with you, take the sand out your pocket, throw it in their eyes, and now they're blinded, you can jump on them. And again, not learning from the first lesson, I thought it was a good idea. That's what I did. But the next day, it was like a gloomy day. So I talked extra junk again, get off the bus, and right as I went to throw the sand, it's like a gust of wind came and blew the sand right back in my eyes. So I got lumped up again. And after seeing me lumped up, that's when my mom put me in boxing classes. And I was only in it for a couple of weeks, but it gave me the confidence that I needed to stand my ground and be able to stand up to people who were bullying me. I remember Bojangles, right across the street from Jeffrey Woodson. That was my mom's go-to spot. In fact, I remember anytime we were out of napkins, any kind of condiments, she would literally send me over there. Boy, go to Bojangles, get some napkins. So I would go over there to get napkins. But we ate there as well. Loved the dirty rice. Also down Airline Boulevard, it's changed up a lot. The city's changed. They upgraded a lot of things. But there used to be an arcade there right by the Farm Fresh, if I'm not mistaken. But I just remember going there at least once or twice a month whenever my mom got her food stamps, which we call funny money. She would give me a book, probably had $30 in it. She'd give me a book of ones, and I would take those ones, go to Farm Fresh, and literally 30 times buy a 25-cent cake just so they can give me back the 75 cents in quarters. And I would take all that change and go to the arcade and have a field day. I remember my high school years. They were fun. As a freshman, I really wanted to play sports. I was denied the opportunity previous when I was younger. So when that opportunity came up for me to play, I definitely took advantage of it. And I actually excelled in sports. Basketball was my first love. However, I fed into what everybody said, telling me that I was too short. I should stick to football because I'll go further. So that's why I really put my focus and energy in college. The high school that I went to was John Randolph Tucker High School in Richmond, Virginia. I was living in a place called the Virginia Home for Boys at the time, which I landed in because I was placed in the custody of the state of Virginia at the age of 13. But it changed my life. Tucker provided me a pristine education. I maintained a 3.6 GPA, graduated top 13 in my class of like 390-something students. And really, I blame it all on sports for keeping me in check, giving me something to strive for, and just, making me the champion that I feel I am today. One of my best moments, actually, of course, graduating high school was fun because, it was the first time I ever completed something. The same thing for college. That was fun. However, I was expecting those. I had worked hard and I knew I was going to be graduating. But one of the most, I would say, just caught me off guard and it filled me with pride was almost 20 years later, working in Orlando, Florida. 2017, I get a call from a buddy I played high school football with, asking me to get in contact with my old basketball high school coach, who I didn't know at the time, is currently the athletic director for the school. But I got in contact with him and he told me that they were inducting me into the Hall of Fame for my high school for football, basketball, and track. Now, mind you, I just wanted to play. And when I played, I never in my mind had the intention of keeping up on stats, trying to make a Hall of Fame. I just wanted to have fun with my friends. And for me to 20 years later to get recognized for something that I really wasn't even putting the effort into being recognized for, it really brought joy to me. You know, it really choked me up when I gave the inductions, the speech to my school. I was proud to be able to do that. My bully moment is the day I called the police thinking I was helping my mom, but actually ended up hurting her and costing her 17 years of her life. Unbeknownst to me, my mom was on the run for the police. In 1987, she sold heroin to an undercover cop. I remember her at that time being locked up, but she only did a couple of days. And I didn't know at the time, but it was because my uncle had bailed her out. He put his house up to get her out, and she ended up fleeing, going on the run for 2 years. I never knew she was on the run. To me, I just thought we was poor. She couldn't afford rent, so that's why we was moving from place to place. I was in maybe 4 or 5 different schools in a 2-year time span. But Christmas Day, 1989, I remember waking up. It was a good day. She had bought us some gifts, me and my sister. I was over my friend Tony's house. We lived in Prentice Park on Brighton Street. But I was over his house pretty much all day playing with the Nintendo that he got for Christmas. I remember hearing my mom call me home for dinner, like around 7 o'clock. And within an hour, my uncle came over. He's a heavy drinker. So was my mom at the time. They both were getting their drink on. I remember eating, going upstairs for bed. And about 20, 30 minutes later, I heard furniture moving and plates crashing. Go downstairs, my mom and my uncle are now both drunk, you know, going at each other's throat, having some kind of sibling conflict. Me, natural instinct kick in, I want to protect my mom. So I try to get in between them. He pushed me to the side just with one hand. My mom saw that and picked up a fork that was on the table and literally stabbed him in his groin, his leg area. At that point, he just grabbed her by the throat and started choking her. I couldn't get him off her, and my instinct was just, go call 911. So I literally ran out of the house in my underwears, ran about a block away to a corner store, got on the payphone, called 911. I remember the operator asking me questions like, where do you stay at? I told him, hey, help, send the police. My uncle is trying to kill my mom. So they started asking me further questions. Where do you stay at? What's your mom's name? What's your name? And I answered all the questions. By the time I ran back and I got home, the police was already at my house. And they were walking my mom out of handcuffs. And I remember asking the police, like, hold on, it's my uncle. Why don't y'all have him? He wouldn't give me an answer. But he let me talk to my mom in the back of the car before he pulled away. And my mom just told me to call my Uncle Larry, which I did. And he ended up coming to get us, me and my little sister. And the police was nice enough to stay there until they reached. But that would be the last time I see my mom for a long time. After that, I stayed with my uncle, which was a trying situation for me because my uncle was a pastor of Holy Trinity Baptist Church here in Portsmouth. So I went from being able to run the streets and do what I wanted to do to being in church every Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, almost 6 days a week. So that was a real big change for me, but it turned out to be the best thing I needed for my life, because it helped me develop a relationship with our Creator, and just taught me about the Bible and about responsibility and being good. But my mom ended up getting out of jail early on parole in 1992. She got custody back of me and my sister, but ended up violating her probation. So she got locked up again, and no one wanted to take me the second time around. All my uncles, my aunts. I was a handful, I was a kid from the projects, so I was bad, and I was used to doing things my way. My mom let me do what I want, and sort of created a monster that didn't listen to authority. So none of them wanted to take me. My sister ended up going with her family, with her dad's side of the family, and I ended up in the custody of the state of Virginia. Bounced around a while from different group homes, a place called Rosie Greer in Richmond, a place called the Oasis House also in Richmond, until finally I landed in a place called the Virginia Home for Boys in Richmond, which completely changed my life. It gave, a lot of people think of a boys' home and think of it as a bad place, but this particular one was non-for-profit, so everything was donated. It's 33 acres of land, had our own dining hall, our own gym, had our own soccer fields, so it gave me all the necessary tools I needed to become successful in my young teenage years, so it turned out to be the best thing for me. The effect that this had on me and my family was tremendous. It tore us apart. And it's kind of difficult even talking about it, because I instantly go back to my high school days where, imagine being like a decent, player in football, basketball, land track, and everyone else, parents or family is in the stands cheering for them, and you're like the best player on the team, and really all you want is your mom or someone in there specifically cheering for you. I mean, it was okay, other people's parents and stuff cheered for me, but I would occasionally look in the stands, kind of wishing to see my mom or my sister there, but due to what happened, that wasn't an option. So me and my sister, we remained in contact. It was scarce. I can only remember maybe one time when I was in high school, her grandma brought her from Norfolk to Richmond to actually see me play in a football game. And I'll never forget that game, because I tried to be pretty and show off. I went out and got a pair of gloves and did stuff that I normally won't do. And I ended up having one of the worst games in my career, trying to show off. But I was just happy that my sister was in the stands and she got a chance to see me play. My biggest regret, it'd probably be the fact that I listened too much to what other people say growing up, and I didn't follow my heart and really stick to basketball. Although football took me far, I often think of the possibilities of if I had stuck to realize what I really wanted to do, which was basketball. Sharing my testimonial story is important because I really feel like what I've been through, there's other people out there going through worse. And maybe hearing my story and seeing that there is success at the end, or a light at the end of the tunnel, maybe that'll give hope to somebody else in a similar or even worse situation. What does the future look like for Travis? To me, it looks spectacular. I see myself doing poetry, impacting people from my words, telling my experiences creatively. And I hope, to have people buy my books someday. Here's a poem for you that I wrote during the month of April called Letter to My 10-Year-Old Self. And it's really just me writing a letter saying what I would say today to my younger me. Dear little 10-year-old Travis, as a kid, I know you're feeling broke, poor, and embarrassed. Dysfunctional family, two torn apart parents. You have a coward for a father and an addict for a mother. No emotional outlet, so your rage is gonna grow further. The other kids, they're gonna pick on you. You're gonna often get teased. But it's okay to use that food stamp funny money and to eat government cheese. In fact, the same kids who pick and tease are eating that same government cheese. And please, pay no attention to the rumors you hear your mother doing Lord knows what in the streets. She's just a kid too, not much older than you, and doing the best she can to make ends meet. You're going to develop resentment for your dad and a deep down hatred for your mom. Just know it's not your life. You're not living a normal life like other kids have. And raised by the streets is going to force you to grow up too fast. But take it from me, don't get discouraged because you are built to last. And 2 years from now, you're going to get your first job delivering drug packages for cash. Do not take that job because I promise it'll only further your pain and probably end up the reason why our moms fall deep into using crack cocaine. And the more you hustle, the deeper you're going to fall into the criminal abyss. And I know right now it seems like the weight of the world is on your shoulders, but keep holding on. I promise you won't lose your grip. As long as you keep God as the captain of your ship, you're going to escape tragedy every time and walk away without a limp. And there's no easy way to say. Our moms, she sell heroin to an undercover cop and get sent upstate. You suddenly run away, become a child of the warden in the custody of the state. Placed in the place called the Virginia Home for Boys, where for 6 years you would stay. 3 sports you're going to play, and you're going to become a high school Hall of Famer in all 3. Walk on to Hampton University, earn a football scholarship, and eventually a college degree. And I know all of these things may be too far off for you to see, or maybe even too much for you to believe. But I know all of these things to be true because you, Travis, are the younger me. And P.S., I know me revealing the future to you may significantly mess up the timeline. But for me to allow you to go through what we go through blind, that'll be a damn crime. I love you. Being a part of this Bully Magazine documentary is important to me. Not only because of what the magazine represents, but it's a platform and an opportunity for me to tell my story. And who knows, by me just having the courage to tell my story, it may impact somebody and, give them the courage to tell their story, or even give them hope that there is, light at the end of the tunnel for their situation. Stay focused. And what I mean by that, you're going to have distractions coming left and right. Sometimes it's your own family. But when you set your mind to a goal, stay focused on it. A quote that stands out to me is actually from a poem called "The Game of Life." It's an anonymous poem. But the part that sticks out to me is a part that the writer asks, "Do you wilt and whine if you fail to win in a manner in which you think you're due? Or do you sneer at the man in case that he can and he does do better than you? Do you take your rebuffs with a knowing grin? Do you smile though you pull up lame? Does your faith hold true when your whole world is blue? How are you playing the game?" And that's kind of how I live my life. You can have ups and downs. You can have good times and bad times. But how do you react to them? Do you, cry about things and whine when it's not going your way? Or do you, make a way or find a way to make things possible and happen? So that's a quote that impacts my life. What my life is like now, currently I work for a non-for-profit, the Better Business Bureau, helping small businesses in our community. I'm also a poet, spoken word artist. I perform all across the 757. And currently I am starting an organization to teach younger kids the fundamentals of football, basketball, and track. I want to be a positive outlet for the youth because sports changed my life, and I'm hoping to do that through poetry and sports myself here in Portsmouth. And my name is Travis, aka the Virgo Poet, and I am out.